The Ancient City deck debuts in the KC Grand Championship arc, piloted by Apnarg Otum, better known as Grandpa Muto, in his round of 16 duel versus Joey. This came at a time when the anime had started shifting toward archetypes, but as with many from the original, it's highly inefficient in the show and has received no attention from Konami. So let's take a closer look at these ancient cards and see if we can bring them up to speed. The premise of the deck in the show is to pull together various pieces in a convoluted process to bust out the boss of the deck, Ancient Dragon. Otherwise, the unifying aspect of the deck is its ancient Egyptian and artifact theming. In addition, there are a handful of effects that trigger in the end phase, and so that was the starting point for this deck, where it's largely going to operate in the end phases of both turns. We start with Stone Giant, whose anime effect is that it can't be tributed for a tribute summon, and if it didn't attack, you take 500 damage in the end phase. Stone Giant becomes the main starter of the deck and reads, during the end phase, you can discard this card, draw one card, and reveal it. If it mentions Ancient City, you can activate it if it is a spell or trap, or special summon it if it is a monster. If it doesn't, place it on the bottom of your deck. During the end phase, if this card did not battle this turn, you lose 500 life points for every monster you control. Then, take one spell or trap that mentions Ancient City from your deck and place it face up on your field. You can only use each effect of Stone Giant once per turn. The second effect is pretty straightforward. You'll be able to fly under search negates, but you won't get the activation effects a lot of these spells and traps have. The first effect is another way to get things going in your end phase, and the deck has a few ways to stack a card on top of your deck to make the most of this effect. Next up in Grandpa's lineup is Wandering Mummy, which actually came out in Pharaonic Guardian way back in 2003. You can flip it face down, and when you do, rearrange the face down monsters in your monster zones. Pretty useless, so let's retrain it to Ancient Wandering Mummy, which reads, if this card is summoned, you can target one spell or trap in your grave that mentions Ancient City, place it face up on your field. During the end phase, you can flip face down monsters your opponent controls up to the number of spells and traps you control that mention Ancient City. The position of those monsters cannot be changed except by card effect until the end of the next turn. You can only use each effect of Ancient Wandering Mummy once per turn. This card accomplishes two things. First, it gets back your spells and traps from the grave. Second, it locks down your opponent so that going into your next turn, you'll have blocked off your opponent's on-field monster effects, and going into your opponent's turn, they won't be able to do much with their set monsters. Next up is Sinister Serpent, a card that certainly had its time in the sun and on the ban list, but was errata to avoid looping with it. Retrained for this archetype, we get Ancient Serpent, which reads, during the standby phase, you can discard this card. During this turn's end phase, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of cards and effects of cards that mention Ancient City. During the end phase, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one card in your grave that mentions Ancient City, place it on top of your deck. Then, if this card is in your grave, banish it. You can only use one effect of Ancient Serpent per turn, and only once that turn. As I mentioned previously in other videos, I think a lot of otherwise tamer archetypes will get cards like this that let their combos go through unimpeded in a world otherwise filled with negates left and right. This is limited to the end phase, but as you're seeing, that's when most of these effects are going to trigger anyway. This card also has the recursive aspect of Sinister Serpent, netting you back either itself or another Ancient City card to the top of your deck to combo with the effects that work off the top of your deck, or just setting up your next draw. Next, we have Ancient Giant. In the anime, you take 300 damage in the end phase if it didn't attack. The new improved version goes, during the end phase of a turn, you activated the effect of a card that mentions Ancient City. You can special summon this card from your hand. During the end phase, if this card did not battle this turn, you lose 500 life points for every monster you control. Then, take one level 4 or lower monster that mentions Ancient City from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. You can only use each effect of Ancient Giant once per turn. Like its mini version Stone Giant, this guy also has two effects in the end phase, one to bring him out easily and the other to search or special summon your level 4 or lower Ancient City monsters, so an alternative starter or an extender for the deck. And finally, the boss of the deck, Ancient Dragon. In the anime, it has the effect where if it destroys a monster in battle, all defense position monsters your opponent controls are destroyed. Not a lot for some crazy mythical legendary dragon, so the custom version reads, cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by the effect of Ancient City. This face-up card cannot be removed from the field except by battle while Ancient City is in your field zone. If this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, destroy all cards your opponent controls. During the end phase, you can discard this card, take one card that mentions Ancient City from your deck, and place it on top of your deck. Buffed its anime effect, and also gave it strong protection while you have Ancient City in your field zone. Also gave it a stack effect to further combo with cards like Stone Giant, so in case you draw, you're not just saddled with a Nomi in your hand. Let's start with the namesake Ancient City. This field spell in the anime will let you pop out Ancient Dragon by sending Ancient Gate, Tome, and Giant from field to grave. It'll also bring Ancient Dragon out during the end phase of a turn it was destroyed. Reimagined, it reads, when this card is activated, you can send from your face-up field to the grave 1 Ancient Gate, 1 Ancient Tome, and or 1 Ancient Giant, then special summon 1 monster that mentions Ancient City from your hand, deck, or grave, but you can only special summon Ancient Dragon this way if you sent 3 cards. During the end phase, you can special summon 1 Ancient Dragon from your grave that was sent there this turn. You can only use each effect of Ancient City once per turn. The summon effect gets a buff where you still need to send those 3 specific cards, but only one of them to bring out any Ancient City monster, but you can send all 3 to bring out Ancient Dragon. However, the easier way to bring out the boss, of course, is the second effect, which combos really well with something like Mummy, since that'll flip down all your opponent's monsters. Then, if you can destroy one of them with Dragon, you'll blow up their field. Next up, we have Ancient Gate, which actually does nothing other than needing Ancient City on board to play it in the anime, so a lot of liberty to work with here. If your opponent summons a monster while Ancient City is in your field zone, and they have activated 5 or more monster effects this turn, except during the damage step, you can send this face-up card you control to the grave. Immediately after this chain resolves, it becomes the end phase. During the end phase, you can send 1 card that mentions Ancient City from your deck to the grave. You can only use each effect of Ancient Gate once per turn. First effect can be nutty, no doubt. It'll shut down your opponent if they can't get rid of it or Ancient City early in their combos, but this deck is otherwise held back by the fact that it doesn't interact much with your opponent outside the end phase. Second effect will help set things up like Serpent and Mummy. Next, we have Ancient Key, which in the anime summons 2 Stone Giants on activation, and during the main phase, you can send it and 2 Stone Giants whose battle positions have been changed twice each to the grave to add 1 Ancient Gate from deck or grave to hand. Obviously very slow. Here's what we got now. When this card is activated, special summon 1 level 4 or lower monster that mentions Ancient City from your deck in attack position. Then, if it is your turn, it becomes the end phase. During the end phase, you can send this face-up card and 1 monster you control that mentions Ancient City to the grave, activate 1 spell or trap that mentions Ancient City directly from your deck. You can only use each effect of Ancient Key once per turn. Similar to the anime version, this card is a 2-step process to get into your other combos, just a lot faster than the anime version, and a very good starter for the deck. The final archetype-specific card from the anime is Ancient Tome, another continuous spell which lets you swap out 1 card in your hand with the top card of your deck. Here's the new and improved. When this card is activated, add 1 monster that mentions Ancient City from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Ancient Tome once per turn. Once per turn during the end phase, you can switch 1 card from your hand with the top card of your deck. Then, if the added card mentions Ancient City, you can activate it if it is a spell or trap, or special summon it if it is a monster. Another good starter for the deck, as well as serving as another card alongside Stone Giant to work with the other effects that stack a card on top of your deck. In the anime, Grandpa uses some non-archetype cards, so I took one that was on theme and retrained it for the archetype. That was Ordeal of a Traveler, another card that debuted back in 2003 in Pharaonic Guardian. It originally reads that when your opponent attacks, they call a random card in your hand as monster, spell, or trap, and if they're wrong, the attacking monster goes back to the hand. So in the spirit of that, but synergized with the archetype, we have Ordeal of the Ancients. When your opponent summons a monster or monsters, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck and your opponent randomly picks 1. If the selected card mentions Ancient City, return the summoned monsters to the hand, then add that card to your hand. Place the remaining cards on top of your deck in any order. During the end phase, you can target 1 face-up card you control that mentions Ancient City, place it on top of your deck. You can only use each effect of Ordeal of the Ancients once per turn. The archetype's one other way of interacting with your opponent outside the end phase to hold you over until you get to the end phase, and the third card that combos well with stacking cards on top of your deck. So let's go with a test hand. We're going to open up with Ancient Key and any other 1 card in our hand. We'll activate Ancient Key, which on activation allows us to special summon a level 4 or lower Ancient City monster from our deck in attack position. We're going to bring out Stone Giant. Stone Giant in the end phase, and then it becomes the end phase since it is our turn due to Ancient Key. Now Stone Giant in the end phase, since we did not attack with it that turn, we'll lose 500 life points for every monster we control. Then we can take a spell trap that mentions Ancient City from our deck and place it face up on our field. We're going to grab Ancient Gate. Now we'll activate the other effect of Ancient Key, which allows us to send it and 1 Ancient City monster from our field to the grave to activate an Ancient City spell from our deck, we're going to activate Ancient Tome. Ancient Tome on activation is going to allow us to search out an Ancient City monster from our deck to our hand, so we're going to grab the Ancient Dragon. Activate Ancient Dragon's effect to pitch it from our hand to stack an Ancient City card, a card that mentions Ancient City, from our deck to the top of our deck. We're going to put Ancient City itself on top. Then we're going to activate Ancient Tome's other effect, which allows us to swap out one card on our hand with the top card of our deck. So we're going to grab that Ancient City and put back whatever we had in our hand. And since it is a card that mentions Ancient City, Ancient Tome will allow us to activate it. Ancient City on activation, we can send Ancient Gate, Tome, or Giant to the grave to special summon an Ancient City monster from our hand, deck, or grave. So we're going to send the Ancient Tome to special summon the Ancient Giant. Now we're going to activate Ancient Gate's effect, which allows us during the end phase to send one card that mentions Ancient City from our deck to our grave. There's a number of different options that you can go with here. I'm going to go with the defensive combo, so we're going to send Ordeal of the Ancients from deck to grave. Now, Ancient Giant activates its effect. Since we didn't attack with it this turn, we're going to lose 500 life points for every monster we control. And we're going to be able to special summon a level 4 or lower Ancient City monster. We're going to bring out Ancient Wandering Mummy. A little lag there. All right. So now when this guy is summoned, we can target a spell trap in our grave that mentions Ancient City and place it face up. And then finally, we will activate Ancient City's other effect to special summon an Ancient Dragon that was sent there this turn. And this is how we're going to end our field. So there are a bunch of different iterations of the 1.5 card combo. This was Ancient Key plus any one card. You can start with Stone Giant, any one card, Ancient Tome, any one card, and you're going to end up with slightly different variations of this field. This is, like I mentioned, one of the more defensive combos where you end off with Ordeal the Ancients to bounce back your opponent's monsters they try to summon, as well as Ancient Gate to bring the turn to a close if they hit that 5 monster effect or more, as well as trying to summon a monster afterward. You also have some more offensive-oriented combos where you end off with cards like Tome and Key to have some follow-up plays, and that is a demonstration of the Ancient City custom archetype. But wait, there's more! Another thing that came to my mind last second is a fun little combo that works if you're going second. So in your opponent's standby phase, you drop Ancient Serpent, and now during your end phase, your opponent can't activate cards or effects in response to your Ancient City cards and effects. Which is pretty interesting because the moment you drop Serpent, they have to think to themselves, oh crap, are they going to screw me over in the end phase? How much do I want to overextend here? Because during the end phase, what you can do now that your effects are going to go unimpeded, Ancient Giant, during the end phase of a turn, you activate the effect of a card that mentions Ancient City, such as the Serpent, can special summon itself from the hand. Now you get the other effect of Ancient Giant, where since it didn't attack, you lose 500 life points to take a level 4 Allure Ancient City monster and either special summon or add it to your hand. In this case, we're going to special summon it. You could add it to your hand depending on whatever else you open up with, and that might work out better for you. But in this case, let's just go with the special summon. Stone Giant is going to get its effect since it didn't attack this turn. It'll take a spell or trap that mentions Ancient City and place it face up on the field. We're going to grab Ancient Key. Now, Ancient Key's effect is going to activate where we send it and another monster that mentions Ancient City to the grave to activate an Ancient City spell or trap from our deck. We're going to activate the Tome. And so this is going to start looking a bit like the combo that I just showed, where you use Tome on activation to add Ancient Dragon, and then you use Ancient Dragon's effect to pitch itself to stack an Ancient City card. It's going to be Ancient City again. And then you'll use Tome's other effect to swap out the top part of your deck with one in your hand. And since it is an Ancient City card, we can activate it thanks to Tome, and then Ancient City will activate. And so here it just depends on how many monsters your opponent has up. If they have a bunch, you probably want to send Ancient Giant to the grave. If they don't have too many, then you'll send Ancient Tome to the grave. Let's go with Giant to show the full extent of this combo. So with that, we can now bring out an Ancient City monster, and we're going to bring out Ancient Wandering Mummy, which on summon can bring out a Ancient City spell or trap and place it from our grave to our field. So we'll grab back the Ancient Key, and then finally Ancient City's effect will activate to bring out the Ancient Dragon. And now the final thing that you have here is Ancient Wandering Mummy's effect, where you can flip down your opponent's monsters up to the number of spells and traps you control that mention Ancient City. We have 3. That's why I sent the Giant instead of the Tome when you had the option to use Ancient City's effect. So we can flip down up to 3 monsters, and again, depending on how you open up with your hand, you might end up having more, you might end up having less, depending on if your opponent didn't summon that many monsters. Either way, flip down 3 of your opponent's monsters, attack over one of them with Ancient Dragon, and if it destroys it, then you destroy it in their entire field. So this is just a little nifty combo that the deck has a built-in way to handle going second, and there is the demonstration of the Ancient City deck. So that does it for the Ancient City archetype. This was a pretty commonly requested one over the years, and moving forward I'll be more open to requests. So drop your suggestions in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to this channel because we are about to rev it up on custom cards.